Does your business feel like a cage you built for yourself? Mm. You promised yourself that this month would be different. You set the goals, you bought the planner, but here we are, and you're already exhausted. Why? It's because you are trying to build momentum on a nervous system that doesn't feel safe. Mm. Welcome back to another Ask Lady Jules. I'm Shelby Frederick, also known as Lady Jules. And if you're new here, we talk about the things that most business coaches ignore, and that is stewardship, nervous system regulation, and the cost of scaling without safety. We are entering a dangerous time of the year. The new year adrenaline has worn off. The reality of execution has set in, and for many of you, the fresh start you prayed for is already starting to feel like a failure. You think you need more discipline. You think you need a better strategy. But I'm here to tell you that your inability to stick to the plan, it's not a character flaw. It is a biological response. You are trying to launch a rocket from a canoe. You are prioritizing momentum when you haven't established stability. Today, we are going to dismantle the myth of the fresh start. We are going to look at why slowing down feels terrifying for our high achievers, our high performers, and how to build consistency that actually lasts by honoring your nervous system first. So, if we are honest with ourselves, you prayed for growth, you prayed for clients, and God answered. But now you feel like you're drowning in the blessing. So, why do fresh starts fail? Why do we have this cycle where we sprint for 3 weeks and then we crash for 3 months? It is because we are addicted to the launch energy. We love that dopamine hit of a new idea. When you decide to start fresh, your body floods with excitatory chemicals and it feels good. It feels like hope. But here is the problem: your nervous system does not trust new. To your primitive brain, new equals danger. When you try to overhaul your entire life, new morning routine, new marketing strategy, new diet, while you're already carrying the weight of leadership, your nervous system perceives a threat level. It looks at the energy required to sustain this new you and it checks your reserves. If your reserves are empty because you have been running on cortisol and caffeine for 5 years, your body will pull the emergency brake. We call this self sabotage, but it is actually self preservation. Your body is saying, we cannot afford this momentum. So it forces you to stop. You get sick, you get brain fog, you find yourself scrolling social media for hours when you really should be working. This isn't laziness. This is your nervous system screaming that you lack the infrastructure for the speed you are trying to travel. You cannot sustain a kingdom vision with a worldly motor. If scaling makes your chest tight, then stop. You are trying to build that skyscraper on a foundation that is already cracking. And the reason your fresh starts fail is that you're trying to bypass the need for safety. You want the fruit of consistency without the root of regulation. So, if the answer is to slow down and build stability, why does that feel so terrifying? I work with 5, 6, 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs, and the hardest thing I ever ask them to do is nothing. For a leader who has built their identity on performance, ask me how I know, slowing down feels like dying. It's because you have conditioned your body to function in high beta brainwave states. that constant alertness, the constant problem solving, constant firefighting. Chaos has become your comfort zone. So you know how to navigate a crisis. You know how to handle a deadline, but silence, peace, that feels suspicious. When things are quiet, your nervous system starts scanning for the threat it thinks must be there. You start inventing problems just to get back to the chemical baseline of stress you are used to. And this is why self sabotage, when things are going well, this is why it shows up. You break the peace because the peace feels unsafe. So we have to dismantle the lie that busy equals worthy. And many of you are running your businesses like orphans. You're hustling for your next meal. You're panicked that the provision will run out if you stop moving for 1 second. But you are not orphans. You are sons. You are daughters. If you cannot sit in silence for 10 minutes without reaching for your phone to check emails, you are not leading your business. Your anxiety is. You are scaling chaos. And when you scale chaos, you don't get freedom, you get a bigger cage. We have to retrain the body to believe that safety is found in stability, not in speed. We have to teach your nervous system that it is safe to exhale. Because if you cannot exhale, you cannot receive the new breath, that new inspiration that God wants to give you. So let's talk about discipline. The world tells you that if you want to succeed, you just need to push through, grind while they sleep, no days off. And that works until the engine blows. There is a difference between a body that needs discipline and a body that needs repair. If you are trying to whip a tired horse, you are not a leader. You are a tyrant. And many of you are tyrants to your own souls. When you are in a state of functional freeze, where you are staring at the screen, knowing what to do, but physically unable to make yourself do it, discipline is not the answer. Safety is the answer. Discipline requires executive function. It requires the prefrontal cortex of your brain to be online. But when you are dysregulated, when you are in fight, flight, or freeze, that part of your brain, it goes offline. You cannot discipline yourself out of a trauma response. You cannot hustle your way out of burnout. When you try to force consistency on a tired body, you create internal rebellion. There's a part of you that starts to hate the business. You start to resent the clients you actually prayed for. You start to fantasize about just burning it all down and moving to a farm, going someplace where nobody knows your name. That resentment is a signal. It is a signal that the cost of your momentum is too high. We need to stop asking, how do I get more motivated? And start asking, how do I get more regulated? You see, motivation, that's a feeling and it's fleeting, but regulation is a state of being. It is sustainable. Consistency follows safety, not motivation. When your body feels safe, energy, it naturally returns. When your body feels safe, clarity, it naturally returns. So you don't need a better planner. You need a nap. And I always say naps are anointed. You need a Sabbath. You need to look at your calendar and ruthlessly cut the things that are draining your life force, even if they are good opportunities. So, how do we fix this? How do we build consistency that doesn't crush us? Well, over here we use the DDB framework: discern, dismantle, build. But today we focus specifically on the principle of stability before momentum. You must lower the bar to raise the floor. So instead of trying to launch a massive new initiative, I want you to focus on safety anchors. These are small, non negotiable rhythms that signal safety to your body. Maybe it's 15 minutes of silence in the morning before touching your phone. Maybe it's eating lunch away from your desk. Maybe it's ending your workday at 5 p.m., no matter what is left on the list. Now, I know that these sound small, and you will be tempted to say, well, that's not going to scale my business. That's not going to grow the ministry. But these anchors tell your nervous system, I am in control. We are safe. The tiger is not chasing us. When you establish a floor of safety, your capacity increases. So stop trying to sprint. I want you to walk. I want you to show up for the small things. Prove to yourself that you can hold the boundary of rest. If you can't trust yourself to rest, you won't trust yourself to run. So build the container first, regulate the nervous system first. Then, and only then, do you apply the pressure of momentum. I see this pattern constantly in my private coaching work. I work with women who are leading organizations, ministries, and families. They come to me asking for a strategy to double their revenue. And usually, the first thing we do is not add more, we take away. We dismantle the urgency. We look at the fresh start they are trying to force and we ask, is this from God or is this from your anxiety? Because pressure blocks clarity. When you are under pressure, you cannot hear the still small voice. You can only hear the scream of the urgent. So if you are a leader carrying heavy responsibility, hear me. Your peace is your most profitable asset, not your hustle, but your peace. So protect it. In my conclusion on today, start honoring your nervous system and stop scaling chaos. If this message resonated with you, if you realize you've been trying to build a kingdom with a worldly motor, then subscribe to this channel. We are building a community of leaders who refuse to burn out. We rebuild first and then we rise. I'll see you in the next video. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.
If this question reflects your current leadership season, pause and notice your response. Nothing is wrong with you. This points to capacity, not character. This is the work I support inside my private DDB breakthrough coaching cohorts, structural support and sustainable change. If this pattern keeps repeating, deeper support matters. Thank you for spending this time with me. We rebuild first, then we rise.